Kirk, earlier today, I was on the Louis Free Show. And on the Louis Free Show, one of the things that became a bit frustrating was, I was going through, this is why I'm going to stop doing the Shattering Myths show. And a lot of it was because of political correctness. There's just no longer a receptive, and just the realization that I'm yelling into a bowl of Jello. That most people have been so indoctrinated by political correctness, they're incapable of processing evidence and being reasonable about it. So you're wasting your time, wasting your breath. Why make yourself vulnerable? Why risk your life if 99% of the people that you talk to don't care and they have no capacity to even process what you have to say? And that the realization is over the next 15 years, the world as we know it's going to cease to exist.
Right.
Half the world's population is going to die in a combination of wars.
Guaranteed.
Yeah, guaranteed. And we are going to, America's going to collapse economically, and it's going to be anarchy here. And it's going to be anarchy in Europe because of this infighting between Muslims and racists as opposed to Islam and enlightened individuals who use words and reason.
Right.
And so Europe is going to slip into anarchy, and the government's going to respond because there'll be a third party in this. It's not going to just be the right-wingers and Muslims. The government's going to intervene on behalf of the Muslims against the right-wingers, and it's going to impose military rule. That's the fate of Europe.
Yeah, we're back to a dictator, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. Yeah, it's back to Theodosius, the dictator who created the Roman Catholic Church, the Roman Universal Church. So that's what we're back to in Europe, and in the United States, we're going to collapse economically, and there's going to be nothing to keep America from being a military dictatorship. That's what we're headed towards. And so the future looks pretty dismal around the world, and we're already fighting World War III. And I think there's a realization amongst people now that World War III has already begun.
They know.
Yeah, people know. World War III has already begun, and there's no stopping it. It's being escalated rapidly. The president's speech, this is pure evil, this is the face of evil, and we've got to go eradicate this barbaric terrorist organization. You have a 0% possibility of eradicating Sunni Islam. And this terrorist organization is the spearhead right now of Sunni Islam.
And the Sunnis started this. I mean, it's the Saudi people who did the proxy war to begin with.
And the more we bomb it, the more we attack it, the faster it'll grow, the more popular it'll become, the more resolute they will become. So we are continuing to exacerbate our own demise. And so I was in the midst of all this, Kirk, and I said, I could see the host, Louis Free, was just getting depressed. And I said, no. I said, don't be depressed. Don't be depressed. There is an answer. The reason I'm stopping Shattering Myths is I'm tired of telling people the truth and having them just yawn or think that I'm the bad guy because I'm not touting the politically correct lie. I'm not aiding and abetting their own demise. And I said, there is a good use of your time. Get to know Yahowah. Come to understand the terms and conditions of the covenant. Appreciate why he wants you to walk away from religion and politics. He's worth knowing. What he's offering is worthwhile. So there is an answer. There is hope. But there is zero hope in any human institution, political, religious, media, academic. And don't think for a moment they're all in it together. I mean, I'm not a conspiracy advocate.
No, it's not a conspiracy. That's what they want, and they feel the need. And they seem to want to be a one world.
We have a nationalized religion in the West. And you do not come to a position of influence in academia, in the media, in politics, in the military, unless you accept it.
Right.
And so it's really not a conspiracy in the sense of there's closed-door meetings that people are manipulating and planning and scheming. No. It's that Adam Weishaupt created political correctness and socialist secular humanism and as a replacement religion to Roman Catholicism for the express purpose of implementing a worldwide indoctrination scheme through universities, through the educational process and through seminaries to get religions even to go along so that the people could be manipulated by and controlled by the enlightened elitists. And so we've adopted that as our national religion. So anybody in a position of influence got there by acquiescing to the national religion. So they're all doing the same thing and saying the same thing and acting the same way because they're all the same.
Yeah, and I can tell you any educator at all will know that experimentalism and Deweyism was what they sold as progressive education was designed to do just that.
Indoctrinate.
And you had to pretty much sign on, or you couldn't get a degree, or you wouldn't be able to teach at some point. Unfortunately, not in my early career, but certainly later, it was absolutely guaranteed. You will not move up the chain.
You will not. Yeah. You won't. You won't even today in academia. You'll be kicked out of a university if you don't acquiesce to the indoctrination. And if you just look at the things they celebrate and the things that they oppose, you can see that free speech, free ideas, evidence, reason, wholly unacceptable. The truth is no longer an ally. We have completely changed academia so that it has become the temple, with the high priest being the professors of the religion of socialist secular humanism and its moral code, political correctness. And so that's the problem. You can't reason with people. You could, and by the way, I don't want to blame political correctness entirely because the religion of Christianity, the religion of Islam, are equally to blame. I would say even Hinduism. Religious faith works exactly the same way. It makes a person impervious to evidence and reason. It is a psychosis that is self-imposed mental retardation. We find ourselves as a nation enthralled with zombie movies for a reason. We can identify with them. Well, we can identify with them. Thoughtless killers. No morality, no judgment, no free will, no sense of right and wrong, no sense of purpose. Zombies.
And it appeals to so many people.
An altered form of life. Oh, of course, the zombie movies are stunningly popular. Why? Because that's what we've become. To have transitioned from doing this show to not doing this show, largely because of a proverb. Yeah, I was getting tired of the ridiculous commercials and sponsoring things that are just ridiculous. I mean, claims they make. So offering people false hope. And people obviously will pay Bill Deagle and they'll pay Doc Wallace et al. For the false hope, or the military Bible stick for false hope. But people's longing for something that gives them hope and willing to forego their money and control over their lives, the people that are offering them false hope, was one reason. But the primary reason was Proverbs 6. You get right down to it. God said, disassociate. And God finally expresses the frustration that I have. What does he say? What's it going to take for you to wake up? What's it going to take for you to take a stand? Right. Do you think God's answering that question of the world because you and I are going to prevail in awakening people and get them to show a backbone and stand up against evil?
No, I don't.
No. God is asking the question in the midst of this attack on Christianity specifically, but politics and religion generally, and militarism, because he realizes no matter what he tells us, it's insufficient to wake people up. So if he's smarter than you are, Kirk. He's more articulate than I am. He's far more convincing than I am, and more articulate than you are. And if his testimony isn't sufficient, and he went into detail about these organizations and hierarchical structure and the imposing of men's will through slander and lies and through association with the adversary, and of controlling people and deceiving them and killing them, murdering innocent lives. And he went into all this detail as to why these people ought to be rejected and why you shouldn't give any oath of allegiance to them in this 6th proverb. And he ends it by saying, so what's it going to take? So if he can't explain it to us in a way that we respond with, last time I checked, his credibility and credentials are better than mine.
His are perfect.
Yeah, his are perfect. Yeah, his resume reads, a God, creator of the universe, author of life. I am who I am. And those are pretty good credentials.
Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah, and his stunningly brilliant, awesomely articulate, and he is incapable of awakening the comatose and of getting them to stand up and show a backbone. If he can't do it, who are we kidding?
You're pretty smart,
by comparison to those indoctrinated in political correctness, yeah, I'm a genius by comparison to the zombies out there.
You can't hit a zombie on the head and make him wake up.
But by comparison to Yahowah, or those that Yahowah directly inspired, I'm a nincompoop. How am I going to do it? No. Wasting my time. You're wasting your time.
Can I tell you something I did over the weekend?
Sure, please.
Just knowing this is the last week.
Yeah.
This particular program.
Mm-hmm.
Saturday, I wrote down a bunch of stuff about light, because that conversation about light and Yahweh's light and
the Torah is light. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yahweh's light, the Torah is light. Yahweh is the Torah.
It's the Torah, and on and on and on, and it's quite a interesting thing. But I also started making a little list of subjects that we've covered and you've covered for a while that I thought were just fascinating. So I did my little highlight film, and obviously it was amazing. Some of the things that came out of these particular topics. And sometime during the course of the week, or I can give you a little short list right now.
Yeah, introduce it.
Well, the first thing that I wrote down was Quam, and that's how God introduces his Bereth covenant with the word Quam. He established it and so forth, and then I went to Psalms 119:18, and then I also put down
Q-U-W-M?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, Quam in Hebrew, its primary meaning, it's said all the time in our culture. When people say kumbaya, kumbaya, it means the primary meaning, the first meaning of Quam is not actually established, although Yahowah equates this particular notion with established. What is the primary meaning of Quam?
I think it's rise up or restore, but rise up is the
rise up, take a stand.
Take a stand.
Yeah. Rise up, take a stand. It's what Yahowah is saying. What is it going to take for you to take a stand, for you to rise up, show you got a backbone, establish the truth? Those who rise up, who take a stand, based on the truth, establish the truth in our corrupt world. And so he took a stand, Yahowah was saying, on the covenant.
Mm-hmm. And, he goes on to tell you how he personally was going to fulfill it. He's going to accomplish it. His desire was to encourage us to
participate.
I mean, it's just the most beautiful concept, and that's right before he tells you what it is, Yep. So I thought that was just...
I'm going to establish my covenant, and he uses the two words, actually, to establish his covenant. Whom is one. They take a stand. Stand up for this. But, and that's why kumbaya means stand with Yahowah. Because ba is the conjunction meaning with. The other aspect of it, the other word he uses is karat, which is always also translated established, but just like kum's primary meaning isn't established, it gives you a shading on how he established. He took a stand. So that we could stand. That's why kum and the covenant enables us to stand. The other is karat, which means to cut. And to cut means to separate. But in business, we cut a deal. In a business relationship, we cut a deal, which is to establish a relationship. And so karat is the other shading. And that's why circumcision, to cut and to separate, is the sign of the covenant, because the covenant cuts us apart from the institutions of humankind, of man, religious and political, and separates us, cuts us unto Yahowah.
Well, I just thought it was such a beautiful introduction before he told you what it was and what the 5 terms and conditions were, what the 5 benefits were. And I'm going to just go through a little list of things.
Please.
Maybe choose something that we might want to talk about a little further this week.
Okay.
Obviously, the 10 statements in stone are amazing for obvious reason. But the first 3 in particular are unequivocal. This is vital.
Yeah. If you have a short attention span, the first 3 tell you really everything you need to know.
All right.
The first one introduces us to the one and only God. I am Yahowah, your God, who led you away from slavery and the Mitzrayim and the crucible of human oppression. I liberated you from that. From what was the crucible of human oppression? Egyptian, religious, political, military, and economic oppression. And so God's first statement is, I'm here to liberate you from politics, from religion, from economic schemes, and from the imposition of military rule. I liberated you from human institutions, from that country. And he is a liberator. His name is Yahowah. His title is God. And then he says, you will not exist with any other God.
Kind of wipes out religion real quick.
Well, I mean, with that introduction, okay, so God has a name. A God by any other name is not God. If you were to align yourself with a God by another name, then you are not going to exist with him, which means you're going to die, and that'll be the end of your life. And that rather than his Torah enslaving, as Christianity and Pauline doctrine would have it, he considers himself the liberator from religion and politics. It echoes the first statement that Yahowah made to Abraham. Walk away from your country.
Away from your country.
And that's what 440 years later he had the children of Israel, guided them, helped them, assisted them to stand up, and to walk away from the oppression of Mitzrayim, human religious and political oppression. That's a powerful insight and concept. And then you talk about the second one. The second one is focused on a single thing. Don't be religious. Don't be religious.
Right.
Don't make religious artifacts. Don't be found around religious pictures and carvings. Don't bow down and serve religious gods. And don't teach your sons to do the same. Don't as a father perpetuate these and pass on these religions, condemning your own children, because my mercy is only going to be shown to the thousands who closely examine and carefully consider the terms and conditions of my covenant. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
After you have that, what more do you need? You know, people have written me 1,000 times and say, can you give me an executive summary of yada yada or intro to God? Yeah, how about the first two statements that Yahowah etched in stone? And then if you say, well, you're making too big a deal about God's name, and no one really knows how to pronounce it anyway, and you just think you're smart because and righteous because you've come up with a pronunciation of His name. And what's the third statement he etched in stone?
He says, don't pervert His name, twist it.
Yeah, don't pervert it, don't twist it, don't belittle it, don't negate it, because anybody that diminishes my name, causes my name to be for naught, I will not forgive. And
now that is so heavy.
Oh my goodness!
To someone like me who came out of the Christian world, that just blew away. Still.
But that's what it says. It doesn't say, "Thou shalt not take the Lord thy name, God's name in vain," and therefore Christians say you can't say goddamn. Well, His name ain't God.
No.
You can't take a name. And vain is either a failed attempt or an egotistical individual.
Yeah.
And so the sentence as it's corrupted in English Bibles is utter nonsense. What it actually says is you should not diminish the importance of, the value of, the very nature of my name with lifeless deceptions, because whoever advances, accepts, upholds lifeless deceptions and my name, Yahowah, I will not forgive. And yet, what do we do as Christians? We replaced Yahowah's name with the Lord, and then we created a new God, a Jesus Christ. Hoorah, boy!
Holy Ghost.
Oh yeah, we did the very thing that God said I would not forgive. So, Kirk, the first thing you came across as an interesting word was kum, which means to take a stand, to stand up, and the second is the first three statements that Yahowah etched in stone, and how insightful they were. I watched a movie. My wife wanted me to go see a movie, and I was reluctant to go because I don't know if you're familiar with Rotten Tomatoes that evaluates movies, and I think it got a 17 rating. And so he goes, oh my God! And the theme was a Christmas dinner, and I despise Christmas, so that's the last thing I wanted to do was see a movie. But I love my wife, and she wanted to go see the movie, and so I went. And I actually was thoroughly and completely entertained by the movie. It's called Love the Coopers, I think. And the reason was that they had the woman that played the atheist. Kind of love interest of House on the TV show House, not the first woman that ultimately left the show. That was one of his first group of doctors, but I've forgotten the actress's name. But anyway, they had her play the same role that she played on House, and she was at an airport and she met a guy from the army that had enlisted in the army and who was right-wing Christian wacko. And they developed this rapport, and she takes him to her parents for Christmas dinner as her date, as her boyfriend, and then he announces that they're engaged. But the reason I brought it up is that she, as the atheist, says, this worshiping God, just this whole idea of a deity that's more needy than I am, that's more insecure than I am. So she articulates the atheist position against religion. Can you imagine a deity, worshiping a God that's so insecure he wants to be worshipped? And this idea of getting down on your knees to worship a God who is insecure is, in fact, That's the God of Islam. It's the God of Christianity, who wants to be worshipped, who is insecure. It's not, and she made the point, such a God's not worth knowing.
Wow.
That's profound. I think the reason that the critics panned it is because the dialogue between the characters is so eye-opening, thought-provoking.
Yeah.
And anyway, this idea of kum, the moment you said kum, which is to stand, Yahowah says, I'm going to stand up for you so you can stand with me. And the last thing that I want to do is for you to bow down and worship me. God, what a despicable response to someone willing to take a stand for you. When somebody wants to walk with you away from human oppression and human servitude and slavery to human institutions, and they're willing to take a stand for you and to help you walk away from these things. And the first thing you want to do is to crawl back down on your knees and start to worship?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my.
Well, Yahowah never asked anybody to bow down to him. He said, walk with me.
Walk with me. Yeah, exactly.
Abraham.
Walk with me. Yeah, he never once asked Abraham to bow down. Never once asked Abraham to pray to him. Never once asked Abraham to praise him. And we don't find Abraham doing those things. The one time that Abraham fell on his face, first thing God said is, Hannah, stand up, man.
Get up.
Pay attention.
Look me in the eye.
Yeah.
Face to face.
Yep. So,
he says it over and over and over and over and over again. It's not like it's a secret.
That's why in this proverb, when God says, what's it going to take for you to show some backbone and take a stand? That's exactly what he wants. It's all based on kum. Take a stand. Stand with me. You want to be established? Stand with me. Bow down to me. I'm not insecure. And this notion that I would create a being to tell me how wonderful I am and to bow down and worship me renders God disgusting. That's what I don't get about religion is, why would you want to be with a God that is that insecure? That needy, as this person on the movie would ask. And yet it went right over everyone's head in that audience.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So what's the third thing that you came across that you thought?
Grab my notes here. Well, I was going to say one other thing besides those three. The next one that before we jump, it was the one that I'd never thought until I really started studying it. How much he said when he says, remember the Shabbat.
Yeah.
It's all about set apart, and it's all about 6+1. And the 6+1 plan, once you parallel that with the Moed Mikres, then you wind up with Sukkah again at the seventh place. Mm-hmm. It just is amazing how much is in here.
Yeah, more than half actually, of the second tablet is in the fourth statement that he etched in stone. Mm-hmm. So the fourth statement comprises more than half of the second tablet. Yeah. And it provides the formula. It's 6+1. God is saying that the man who was created on the sixth day, who is a carbon-based life form, carbon is the atomic number of 6. You, man, with me, in conjunction with me, and I'm one, so Yahowah, there aren't any rivals. He is the only name for God. He is the only creator, the lone God. That means that Jesus Christ is not a distinct persona. There is no Jesus Christ, but Yahowah isn't even a unique individual. Yahowah is just a diminished aspect of Yahowah set apart from him for Yahowah to accomplish his purposes, for Yahowah to kum, they can stand for us. That when you come to recognize all this, that all the pieces fall into place, and in the case of the Shabbat, it's man, in addition to God, is 7, is the purpose of the plan, of the 6+1 plan. That's its purpose. That is the timeline for human history. That's why we know that in 2033 it's all over, except the last 1,000-year celebration of the Shabbat, and then a new eternity. We know how that corresponds to the 6+1 Moed Mikre, with the one being Sukkah, where we Shabbat with the Yahowah for 1,000 years.
It even tells you, as we got into it with the help of Roy along the way, got into it, it even clarifies what life will be like in eternity.
Yeah. What he's saying there is that humankind, you were created in a 6-dimensional construct. And Yahowah, I am in the 7th dimension. So you are created in a 6-dimensional construct. We know what those 6 dimensions are, even though people are having a hard time articulating them. But, we know of height, we know of width, we know of depth. The 3 dimensions that are in our physical realm, and we have learned that there is a 4th dimension called space-time. And that time is the 4th dimension. Now, we have a difficult time understanding time as a dimension because we're stuck in the flow of it. We can't maneuver in it.
Right.
What we will be able to, as all light can, all energy can, it's just that matter cannot. And that we have to be transitioned into light to be able to enjoy and maneuver in and see as a dimension the 4th dimension, which is time. On light, time simply exists. Time is eternal on a photon of light. So insightful. But there are 2 things that comprise a 96%, not 94 to 96%, let's just use 95% of the known universe. Those things the 2 things are what's called dark energy and dark matter. They're only called dark because we don't know what comprises the matter, and we don't know what comprises the energy, although we know for certain that 95% of the universe is comprised of these 2 things that we don't know what they are. All we know, and we've used the term dark matter and dark energy, not because we even know if they are energy or matter. In fact, they probably are neither.
Yeah.
What we know is that there is an attractive force, which we call dark matter, and a repulsive force, which we call dark energy. Those are opposites. And if you want to equate them to Yahowah, then I would say that we go from 3-dimensional constructs stuck in the 4th dimension of time to being liberated eternally with eternal life and infinitely more power and capability by going from 3 dimensions into 4 as we're transformed into light. But the 5th and 6th dimensions that Yahowah created, one of them has an attractive component, which means you can bond to, attach yourself to, come and approach Yahowah. Call it relationship. And then the last of them, the 6th of them, in repulsive nature, is what most people are most affected by. They're repulsed from Yahowah. They're repulsed by the truth. But it's free will. It's required for free will. It speaks specifically of being distanced from these things. It's an absolutely essential aspect of choice. And so that's the 6-dimensional universe that God created in the 7th dimension. Now, you can't create a 7th-dimensional universe if you're in the 7th dimension. You don't have the power to do it. But if you're in the 7th dimension, creating a 6-dimensional universe is extraordinarily easy. It's like we are living in a 3-dimensional universe that we perceive. When you draw, you're creating a 2-dimensional universe. You do it every day.
Yep.
When you paint, when you draw, you're creating a 2-dimensional universe. It's very easy for a 3-dimensional construct to do that. It's extraordinarily easy for Yahowah in 7 dimensions to create a 6-dimensional universe.
Amazing.
Now, what we do not know is, and I suspect this is the case, that Yahowah is going to bring us into the 7th dimension. And in the 7th dimension, which is where we will enjoy our Shabbat, where we will enjoy Sukkah, that in the 7th dimension, we will be able to that will be the cadence of life eternal, is that we will come together to celebrate the Moed Mikre, we'll come together to celebrate the Shabbat, and then of our choosing, we will be able to go out into the new sixth dimensional construct that God creates and explore.
Pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that is the plan. It's all laid out that that it would be a 6+1 plan that would lead to these things. And what happened 1,000 years after Adam and Yahowah were booted from the garden?
Then that was Noah, right?
Right, the flood. Yeah, he gave Noah instructions as to how to build an ark, and because Noah listened to him and responded and acted upon those instructions, his family was saved. And he explained that was a covenant that he had established between Abraham and between Noah and himself, as a direct response to Noah being willing to listen to the instructions that he had provided to save his family. What was the sign of the covenant? That covenant? What did Yahowah tell Noah that was a sign of the covenant that he'd established with him?
Circumcision?
No, not as Abraham.
Oh,
sign of the covenant with Noah.
The light broke through the clouds and set up.
Yeah, the rainbow, right?
Rainbow, yeah.
Right. What is it? What is a rainbow?
It is when light goes to a prism, so to speak, or water. It breaks into the colors of the rainbow, that we're able to see at least.
Yeah, so you're able to see the components of light.
Right.
Yep. Roy G. Biv, matter of fact. Roy G. Biv, is the colors of the rainbow: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. How many colors are there?
7.
Roy G. Biv. He broke the light down into its 7 component parts for us to recognize that the sign of the covenant is all of the many faceted natures of light.
And if you studied as I have color mixing, it's amazing how logical it all works. I mean, one day somebody discovered the color wheel, and they called it Munsell. He got credit for it. A lot of people working on it, but it was just absolutely amazing with primary colors and secondary colors, and how you made earth tones, and I've written a ton on it, and also experimented a ton on it. It's fascinating. And
there are how many primary colors are there, Kirk?
I'm sorry?
How many primary colors are there?
There are 3.
On a family, as Yahowah presents it, of father, mother, and child.
Right, that's the family unit.
3 primary colors of light. 3 primary colors broken into the rainbow of 7. Do you think that the rainbow was just a sign for people to put on unicorns?
No.
Does Yahowah ever do anything that doesn't have a profound amount of enlightenment associated with it?
Yes.
So when Yahowah said this rainbow is the sign of the covenant, which is a familial relationship with Noah, how many people have said, "Wow, what he's saying is that light, and particularly light filtered through water. Water is the symbol for the set-apart spirit. Water is the universal solvent to cleanse, and while water is the source of life, it is the primary source of life, is water. So what he's saying is that light passing through water and is broken down into its 7 component parts, and that 7 is the plan that I am trying to convey to you. How many people figured it out?
Not many.
Well, it's obvious, isn't it?
Yeah, it should be. That was a question I was going to ask you rhetorically. I was saying, well, why did so few people get this?
Why, when the covenant was affirmed with Noah, with a rainbow, which is light broken into its 7 component colors, and that it's light filtered through water, which is the universal solvent and the source of life.
Right.
And then when Yahowah answers Abraham, is all frustrated and says, I don't understand this covenant that you say I'm inheriting because I don't have a kid and I'm an old guy. Could you please explain it to me? And Yahowah takes him where?
He takes him up to see the light.
Right.
But,
you think there's a connection there? Yeah, can you make a connection between those two things and advance your understanding?
I certainly would. I certainly did.
Right. So what we have now is he took him to the source of the light as opposed to the manifestation of the light. Right. Noah saw the manifestation of the light and its component broken down into the seven, and Abraham saw the source of the light. He said, that's what you're going to inherit. If you understand the seven colors of the rainbow and that light filtered through water is the sign of my covenant with you, then you're going to go to the spiritual realm and see the source of the light. That's what you're inheriting. And
he showed it with Moshe so that we could all get it.
Oh, yeah, Moshe. How did he appear to Moshe?
As a light. A burning top of the mountain, which is light to warm.
Yeah. During the daytime, he appeared to them as this giant pillar, and at night he was of water, and at night he was the flaming pillar of light. Do you see a correlation between the water and the light and the rainbow with Noah?
Even a slow dot connectors can pick that one up, right? I do.
Yeah, I didn't until just now.
Oh well,
it took me a while. But it's all exactly the same symbol.
But it was triggered by your conversation last Friday about light. I mean, I started all these things and going, I'm not deep like you are. I kind of swim in a shallow pool.
But Kurt, I was in the shallow pool, and I said, okay, I missed this one. He's not saying that the Torah is a light. He's saying the Torah is light.
It's light.
And because it's light, he's defining the nature of the Torah. But then we go, because he said that the covenant, the terms and conditions of the covenant, are equal to a lamp.
Mm-hmm.
And so what is the lamp to the light is very much like the rainbow to the covenant.
Right.
It's like the flaming top of the mountain to Yahowah's introduction of himself. It's like the pillar of moisture and the pillar of light leading the children away from Mitzrayim during the Exodus.
And keeping them safe and warm.
It's all the same thing. So he's equating this Torah as the source of that light, and he's equating the terms and conditions of the covenant as the manifestation of that light. Just like the rainbow, the manifestation of that light.
And the light appeared in the 40th year, or the 400th.
It says the greater light will appear as a sign for the Moed in the fourth day, which is the year 4000. Yeah, you correct. 1,000 years from the expulsion from the garden. Adam and the descendants of Adam and Yahowah and of humankind outside the garden, they faced the consequence of the flood, with the exception of Noah, who had the covenant explained to him and to us. 1,000 years after that, and then 2,000 years, 40 Yobel after the exodus from the garden. What happened then?
40 years?
For 2,000 years after 1967 BCE.
That's got to be Solomon building the...
No. That's 967 BCE. 1967 BCE. That's when he went to Abraham in Babylon and said, walk away from that country.
Yeah.
Walk with me to a place that I'm going to show you. Yeah, that's number 2.
Yep.
40 Yobel after expulsion from the garden. Now you've got year 2000, and that covenant that he created the prototype through Noah was now explained in great detail. Here are the 5 terms and conditions. Here are the 5 benefits of the covenant. One and only covenant. Everlasting covenant. Now what happened 1,000 years later? Year 3000, yeah. But you just said it a moment ago. Solomon and Dode and Solomon put together the materials, and they built the temple.
He built the temple.
967 BCE to house the Ark of the Covenant. Yep. There you go. 967 BCE. What happened 1,000 years later, on year 4000, Yah, to confirm that the great to demonstrate that the creation account is prophetic. On the fourth day of man's existence, year 4000, Yah, in 33 CE, Yahshua fulfills the first four Moed Mikra. The greater light becomes visible.
And Yahweh, of course, calls him the Word.
And the light.
The Torah is the light.
Yeah, and the light. Indeed. He was the living manifestation of the Torah, the living manifestation of the light that is Yahowah. And so he was the Word. He was the light, because the Torah is light. And what was his first speech? Do not think that I came to annul the Torah. I came to fulfill it. Oh my.